Okay, so I'm back. Today I get the opportunity to show you, using the same Shinha touch markers, how to take the same anime project that I did the other day and now give it a backdrop using a different type of the markers. So I have my same anime girl here. And what I'm gonna do is, you can see I've sketched out again my backdrop, and I now have the opportunity to use the white barrel markers, or actually what are called brush markers. And the uniqueness about the brush marker is that they again have the thick chiseled end, and then they also at this end have a fat brush-like marker, which is quite different than, I'll show you, this one. So you can see this will allow me some different techniques that'll be available. So the white barrels are always the brush markers. The other thing that I'll first show you is what's called the blending tool. Now the twin markers, the touch markers, this is the key ingredient to these touch markers. With the blending tool, you're able to lift out, these are an alcohol-based marker, and you're able to lift out the design that you've done, the inking that you've put in, and just lift it up using this marker. So even though I did this a couple of days ago, I can still take this marker, and there's no pigment in here at all. It's actually just clear, but it's alcohol based, and what it actually does is it takes out the ink, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna allow me to further highlight. It's a very interesting thing to use because you can't see it when you're doing it, but it'll actually start to add a shine to her skin. And if you want more area taken off, you want more of that yellow removed, you just continue to go back over it. So you apply it, you wait a little bit, see if it's getting the color and shading that you want, and then just go back over it until you get exactly the look that you're desiring. So these markers are really a lot of fun when it comes to your blending. So I can go into her hair and add some highlights. And again, really important that you just kind of wait those few seconds to see what you've applied and what it's actually gonna do. Another thing that this blender does, and I think the original thing that made it called a blender, is you can use this blender, which is colorless, like I mentioned before. You can actually color the colorless marker, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna slightly dilute this color, making it a lighter color. Then you can take your blending marker and use it as a marker, but it's gonna continue to fade into different shades of the same, different depths, if you will, of the same color. So one of the great things also about this blender is because it is colorless, you're able to use this blender to soften some of your marker colors that you already have before you apply it to the paper. So I can take this blue, which I want to use here for my bricks, paint it onto the blender, and then use the blender to go ahead and transfer the ink onto my page. And I'm just doing some kind of random bricks. And you'll notice that it continues to fade, and you can kind of rotate the pen to get some different depths of the color, or you can go back in and blend this back out and kind of get it to bleed out. But it's not, this is the same color as the martini glass, but you can see it just appears lighter and a little more translucent. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish in some of my background lines here, and then what I'll do is I'll show you this really fun brush marker. So the brush marker. The interesting thing about the brush marker is with the brush, you really have more of a dragging action, much like using a paintbrush. So because the tip is so flexible, you really are not gonna push the brush. You're gonna pull the brush, and if you drag the brush quickly, it's gonna go from a bold line to sort of a faded sweeping line. So here in the blue area of my windows in the high-rise, I've made sort of a sweeping motion, and it just kind of fades to a lighter blue. Here on the sidewalk, I'll do the same thing with this black and then shade it in with the gray. And so if I move quickly, at the start of my process, it'll be darker and then it'll blend and fade. So you can see the fading action there at the end. So it's kind of difficult when you have like a really small project, but when you have large areas of coverage, it looks awesome because it's translucent enough, but it's also opaque to start. So if you want to move quickly, you can get a really transparent kind of a look, or you can go slowly and just get a really broad stroke. So here with my brush, you can see just this point just is really a juicy point, and it flows really well, but you wouldn't want to push it because you'll damage the tip. But the tip is so fine that on a lot of my areas of this, I can just go ahead and color with this and use it more of an outliner because it is such a defined small point. So I'm just going to give a little contour here to the sidewalk that I've got. One of the tools that I used with this building is the marker set actually comes in a 12-pack of grayscale, which is a phenomenal addition to the line. Being able to shade in various shades of gray for buildings or just contrast is really nice. So then again with my blender, I'll just go in here and kind of blend my grass, bleed it out a bit in areas, soften those hard edges. Okay, so today we've used these other additional types of markers. I used the grayscale, which I found incredibly fun with this one building, with my darker building. We used the brush markers, the twin brush markers, and then for my original anime, I just used the original touch twin markers. And my personal favorite is the blending tool. The blending tool allows you so many aspects with these markers that no other markers do. And so this is what I've created, and I know you guys can do a great job and do way better than me. So have fun. Peace.